So Bitcoin has just hit an all-time high over the course of the weekend. Now most people think that's it, a triple top and it's all over and the bull run is finished. But every single cycle, I think this moment does the absolute opposite, which we need to talk about. It tends to trigger a new wave of interest around institutions, the buying of certain things. We're already seeing it with gold, for example. And then it pushes cryptocurrency into a bit of mania. Now, I will talk about retail quite a lot in this video, but that isn't the first catalyst here. Today, I'm going to break out the obvious in the room. That breakout to the all-time high is not the end. It's usually the trigger and the starting point. Let me know in the comments, do you think retail will come back? I've got a feeling they will. Now, welcome back to the channel. If you like some Bitcoin content, obvious analysis, and more importantly, where the frick do we go next, subscribe. But let's talk about the obvious in the room here. The monthly time frame is looking really sharp, really good. And this is the breakout we are covering. Now, some statistics to tell you, and you need to know this, we have just closed for the first time ever the highest weekly body candle. Brilliant, right? So yes, we've had all-time high retests in the past in terms of like mid-August, but we kind of flopped about it. This is where we kind of cleaned and exited usually quite high at 23,000. That is a big, strong candle. That's a biggie. That's a big boy. So we've finally cleared, in my viewpoint, that major resistance level. Yes, we could come down. It could be quite weak around this area, but we could have a situation where the market has moved from disbelief into acceptance, where we're talking about a new high. Now, I have talked about certain scenarios, and even with some of my previous videos, I wasn't 100% convinced that was the bottom. I was thinking, you know what? We are one bad news announcement or one tariff announcement away from seeing this go a little bit lower. And I'm surprised. I am surprised. I think we would have had a worse kind of start to October, but it's been the polar opposite. And I get it. It's fine. But ultimately, I didn't really change my position on my stance. I was still bullish regardless of whatever position we went to first. But we need to look back at the fact of, like, in 2017 and 2021, every single time Bitcoin made a new all-time high, we had a 6 to 12 week run which saw massive inflows. And that is a big situation. Not exit, we're talking inflows. And you'll see that on the on-chain data. You'll see that in exchanges, deposits climbing. I'm already seeing it in my affiliate referrals. Deposits are starting to climb. It's an important metric. We can see it with impressions on YouTube videos, YouTube searches, Google searches, the lot. Things are starting to get a bit more interesting, but the reality is here, Bitcoin is quite, 0.29% up today. That's all right, isn't it? But altcoins are much higher. There is definitely some altcoin interest. There's stuff happening. But again, we talk about Ethereum. Where is Ethereum? We are getting close towards that $5,000 level. Are we going to trickle up to it? Probably yes. So in my viewpoint, the breakout for Bitcoin doesn't mean it's dead at all, nowhere near. And I think there's a lot of people talking about that. I think it's the opposite. It's the revival. It's going to probably ramp up in the next couple of weeks, in my viewpoint. Now, the return of the crowd, and let's just talk about the Cycle Master here on Bitcoin Pro magazine, because it's kind of just above the fair value situation. We're not in aggressive value, not overvalued. And this is a combination of coin values days destroyed and the terminal price. It's a metric, it works, and it can kind of tell you where to be and where not to be realistically in the market. Now, every single cycle you can see, we have been in situations where we've been aggressively overvalued or aggressively priced, and also low prices where it's really, really low. It's quite a good little metric to copy. But we need to talk about this crowd effect, and we could talk about, obviously, people talk about power law. We can talk about how people talk about different situations around the technical and the on-chain data. But let's talk about the obvious in the room here. Psychology. Sorry, I know, I'm going to bore you. But retail, and I get this comment a lot about retail, are never going to return. But retail wake up not when there's a 20 or a 50 or a 80% correction. They buy when CNBC and Bloomberg and BBC, whoever, tells you to buy when Bitcoin or said altcoin or whatever instrument into Nvidia or something like that here is at all-time highs, record highs, because that's how it is. Just how you bait people in. Smart money accumulating the cycle lows in silence way below the previous all-time high, right? That's simple. If you've been doing that, you are a part of the smart retail group. There is also the dumb retail group. Retail will wait for the confirmation that the confirmation is that the all-time high is broken out And that's a validation that's a good investment because it's really high. That's a dumb logic as well. Then you get the liquidity flooding in, then you get the altcoin volume spikes, and the narratives then start to form. That's kind of the rhythm of it, right? You'll see that on X, you'll see it on TikTok, you'll see it anywhere. Certain types of content will bang. Look at Solana, for example, right? Random example. If this starts trickling up, you're probably going to go and look under the hood. Under the hood has probably got a lot of meme coins sitting under it, and they're flying. Same with BNB. Why is BNB now $1,200? Come on now. It's not rocket science. So you got to be mindful of that. And then once Ethereum starts going, whoa, Jesus, I think we're going to start seeing excitement levels going. But I will say this, I don't think it'll be the same as 2021. I don't. I've said that a lot. I get a lot of kickback from it. I think people are expecting it. This cycle is different to the last cycle. 2021 was different to 2017. And if you want me to talk more about this sort of things, I highly recommend you jumping into my Patreon. I do MMQs and I do technical analysis requests, and I talk a lot about the past and how things have happened in more detail. This will be getting closed off when the mania returns. Sorry, but if you miss it, you miss it, so don't miss out. But let's talk about the trigger. On the screen, I have put it in black and white for you guys to see. If you like it, press a like button. If you want to copy it, press the pause button. It's kind of obvious how this works now. You should know this. But I'm going to talk about it in a bit more detail. So firstly, we will always see people get interested in crypto because of Bitcoin. That's kind of how it is. Now, I've said it before, previous cycles feel different, but I think personally, it's an indication that not many people in the market, realistically, apart from like obviously, maybe the old retail, don't have enough Bitcoin in their portfolios. They're not really excited. You can probably see that in my YouTube subscribers and commenters. But once a dominance starts rising while altcoins lag, you get that kind of element. But I think we're already at that point where it's already happened, where Bitcoin dominance has already gone up to like the high 60s, and it has came down. Ethereum has bounced, XRP has done something, for example. But once Bitcoin does consolidate or go way beyond this high, we're going to start seeing the rotation, and we're going to start seeing that Ethereum running the larger cap coins happen. And as I say, we've already had one element of that before. We could have another one as well. And then that rotation will trickle down into the mid caps, the narratives, the AI boom, the D-pins, whatever, right? Whatever's hot at the time. We've already had derivative exchanges and self-custody exchanges, which could be better than centralized exchanges, have a bit of a runoff recently, right? So that's a situation we've got to look at. This usually is what happens every single time. Every single time. And as I say, we've had a little baby version of that recently. Will we get another one? If Bitcoin runs even higher, we probably will get the exact same thing over and over again for a period of weeks. But what am I watching? You probably want to know this, and leave a like if you know what I'm talking about here, because let's be honest, look at gold. The question that I posed on my Patreon the other day was, what if that gold liquidity runs into Bitcoin, for example? There's a lot of boom around Japan and China buying in gold right now. It's gone crazy. It's mental. Makes you wonder why. So that's one obvious in the room. The other obvious one is obviously going back to the crypto market. Where is existing liquidity going? Well, actually, we're getting lower and lower slowly, right? Nothing crazy, but as it gets into the 5% and lower, you're going to see rotation from the stable currencies sitting there going into the, I would say, probably the momentum plays of the altcoin market going a bit mental, or maybe FOMO into Bitcoin at the end of it, right? There's a lot of people still hold stables. Telling on the data, it's obviously there. So that's one factor. Again, you can look at, say, the altcoins and total 3/BTC. We kind of still had this little bit of a rally. We have pulled back. We are still in probably an area where we can go much higher. If you zoom out on these charts and look even further, you can see that you could probably look at, well, we're low. This could be the profit zone. It's kind of obvious, really. So you got to look at that situation. But my approach to me, for me only, I'm not really that bothered about altcoins. Realistically, I've played that game. I'm not going to FOMO. I've already got a decent chunk of money and capital in Bitcoin. I'm happy to manage that. Maybe if there's a bit of a thing I can play with later on, say, for example, as I plan to have, hopefully, if the cycles are very, very similar in the sense of the ending, Bitcoin will probably top before altcoins, and altcoins may well run. That's kind of how it usually goes. And it has happened not too long ago with Ethereum running, right? So there may well be opportunities. And I know there's a lot of people going, I probably missed the boat here. I don't think you have. Others/BTC, it's still down here. Others.D as well, it's still at the lows. These can go much, much higher. And as you can see before in previous little runs, and even end of 2023 and 2024, that was a big run for a lot of people. We probably will get a repeat of that. But remember, this is where emotions may start to flip, where fear turns into greed and disbelief turns into euphoria, and all those kind of people who ignored Bitcoin for years and years and years will now rush to buy it above stupid prices. You're probably going to get the same with Ethereum, you're probably going to get the same with the Solana, XRP, insert altcoin here. Likewise with gold, people are now FOMOing into gold. I'm getting DMs saying, how do I buy gold? What do I do? And all that kind of stuff. But it's just the way it is, and every single market is the same. Insert whatever trend, whatever kind of thing, people's human behaviors don't change. And if you stay calm while everyone's chasing candles, you're probably going to win more than you're going to lose, realistically. It's all about having a plan. If you've done so, please do jump in Patreon, where you'll see a lot more detail for what I do. And also there's a link to Blowfin. A lot of the time in the bull market, when exchanges go a bit mental, you're probably going to find that they close off as well because they can't handle demand. If you are late to the game, you're probably going to get shut out, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. But yeah, stay level-headed, have an exit plan, and more importantly, look at what's in front of you.